What's up, everybody? I am Taylor, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I started this channel from my heart to share my personal experience, strength, and hope. I've been in recovery for almost 3 years. I have been sober since 2020, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning right now. I haven't been awake at this time in a very long time, and I know why I'm awake. And instead of laying in the bed and just ruminating and letting my thoughts get the best of me, I decided to make a choice to come outside to make a YouTube video. It's been a while since I've been on my YouTube channel, and the reason is because I've been going through a lot. I've been going through a lot with my health. I had some changes happen in my life that kind of mixed up my household, kind of threw everybody off their schedule for the past few weeks. I've had a lot that I have been processing, and of course I've been busy working my recovery. You know, the thing is that I've been in recovery for almost 3 years, and I want to share something vulnerable about myself because I think a lot of people need to hear this, and I think it's hard for a lot of people to share something that I'm about to share. You know, there are days that I question, what's the point? I don't question it as in a fact as of, I don't want to be living, I don't want to be on this earth, not that type of questioning, but more of like, what's the point of doing all this inner work, all of these things to help myself when one day I'm just going to die, right? These are the types of thoughts that I have roll through my head, okay? Now, I know deep in my heart that there's a reason I am here, and I know deep in my heart that there's a reason that I take action every day, no matter what. You know, I am not happy 24/7. No human being is. And I thought that when I got sober, I thought that I would be happy. And when I got sober many, many years ago, I was not happy. I was miserable. I was so miserable, in fact. I had zero support system. I was a stay-at-home mom, raising my child while my spouse went to work like all day long. I had zero support outside the home. And the most important thing is that I had zero support with myself. Like, the way that I spoke to myself was just horrible. I didn't believe in myself. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like a piece of shit. I had so much guilt, so much shame, so much resentment. Like, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. Like, I hated myself, and I hated everyone who had ever hurt me also. So I tell the backstory because people need to know the backstory to understand why I've worked so hard to get to where I am today. For me, I got tired of being in pain. I got tired of suffering. I got tired of waking up and dreading waking up. I used to wake up in the mornings and I would be like, oh, fuck, I've got to start this day. Like, I was not a happy morning person. Today, I'm okay once I get moving around. But I'm a lot better than I used to be. And there are days I don't have motivation, and people will call it depression, okay? And just from my personal experience with depression, I feel that no wonder there are days that I am empty. There are days I am disconnected from people. There are days I question life. There are days I question, why am I doing this? You know? And I know that that's just my brain, okay? That is not logic. That is just how my brain gets sometimes, okay? And before recovery, when my brain would get like that, I would drink, or I would sleep. After I stopped drinking, I would sleep, or I would completely like ruminate on these thoughts, and I would cry for hours at a time, rocking back and forth, just like all alone. It was really intense. I didn't have tools. I didn't have coping mechanisms. I didn't have people. I didn't have a solution. And when I built that solid foundation and I came back to Alcoholics Anonymous and I did everything that was suggested to me and I took my program seriously, I threw myself into recovery the way I threw myself in active addiction. And it was important for me to build a solid foundation. That was what I was lacking. But I was also lacking a connection to myself. And so the steps helped me learn how to forgive myself and others. It taught me how to let go of resentments through action and a lot of repetition. Taught me how to communicate with other people, how to build healthy relationships. Taught me how to overcome my fear of public speaking. It taught me how to be of service. It taught me how to regulate my emotions just from me listening to how other people regulated their emotions. It taught me so much from being involved in meetings. Like, I would not be where I am without the fellowship. And my point in making this video is that just because my brain can whisper these things that I know aren't true, sometimes it's really my choice to listen to that part of my brain. I know my brain, and that was the key for me, was getting to understand how Taylor's brain worked, not how this person's brain worked or that person's brain worked or how my children's brain worked or how a family member's brain worked. Like, I needed to understand like Taylor's brain, right? And so through a lot of self-reflection, I say this all the time, of really being in touch and connected with my inner being, my inner self, my inner being, okay? Self-reflection was the only way I could really identify like what was going on, because I had masked for so long and I had not talked about emotions. I had pushed them so far down, I didn't know how to identify with them, you know? And so I had to learn how. And I talk a lot in my videos about positive self-talk, because I would not be making this video if I had not implemented positive self-talk in my life. My negative self-talk was beyond abusive. I was abusive towards myself, honestly. You know, it's normal some days to have no motivation. It's normal some days to be sad all day. It's normal to have anxiety. It's normal to have negative thoughts. It's normal for painful thoughts from the past to arise. Like, all these things are normal. But I feel like society and specific people in society can make it seem like these things are not so normal to have. And what I've learned through my own personal experience with psychiatric medications, with the mental health field, with counseling, with 12-step programs, with research, with inner work, like all these things, right, is that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, you know? And I realized that no medication is gonna fix me the way that I wanted it to fix me. I wanted medication to fix me the way substances fixed me, you know? And that didn't happen for me. I've learned that medication should be used as a tool. And if a person doesn't add healing on top of using medication as a tool, nothing's gonna change. Like, nothing's gonna change. And I'm speaking on personal experience. For years, I was on so many different psychiatric medications, and I wasn't doing any healing work. Like, I wasn't working on myself. So, like, nothing was changing. I was actually getting worse. You know, and what 12-step programs have taught me, it's taught me to check my motives for, like, things that I'm doing. And so when I came in the program, I had sort of known that I was on too much medication, but I was in denial because I would like make excuses like, oh, it's prescribed, right? It's okay. It's prescribed. A doctor prescribed it. But when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and I started listening to everybody, I started realizing and I started feeling a little guilty about being on that many meds, because I had to really question my motives. Like, why am I really taking all of this? What am I escaping from? What am I numbing myself from? I was using meds as an unhealthy coping mechanism to help me cope with emotions, because when I was on that many medications, I was more numb emotionally, spiritually, and physically than I had ever been on chemical substances or alcohol, which was scary. Because when I decided to come off my meds, I felt emotions for the first time in my life that I could remember. And they were so intense, I thought something was wrong with me. It was insane, the intensity of the emotions. And I had to get my brain used to feeling those emotions. I had to get my brain used to being sober. I had to get my brain used to being around people who treated me with respect, kindness, support. My brain wanted to reject anything that was going to be good for me, because my entire life I surrounded myself around harmful people and harmful things. And so the brain rejects anything that's not familiar, even if it's good for us. And with me just coming to terms with this information changed my perspective about my brain. Me realizing that I am not my brain. And something that came to me in meditation, and I'm going to try to explain this to make this make sense, is that I realized something really deeply. Like, there's all these vocabulary words describe like God, higher power, Allah, spirit of the universe, higher self, and the list goes on of all the words to describe a power greater than ourselves. I realized something. I speak about a lot in my other videos. I speak about the diseased mind, which is the left side of my brain. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous talks about. That makes up the addiction, the trauma, the dysfunction, the guilt, the shame, the resentment, the rage, the anger, like all those things I don't want to be and I don't want to feel, makes up the left side of my brain, which I call the negative mind, okay? And the positive mind makes up the love, the compassion, me being able to think before I speak, pause, acceptance, forgiveness, and all of these things. So it makes up my right side of my mind. And I've always imagined, like, in between both sides of my brain, a light that shines from my heart up into the sky. And I call that the power of life. Some choose to call it God, some choose to call it higher power. And what I realized in meditation is that I have two voices in my head, okay? They're silent voices. I'm not talking about like a schizophrenic voice. I'm like, everybody has these two voices in their head. It's kind of like the devil and the angel analogy, right? And I'm not a religious person, but that's the closest thing that I can think of to explain it, to make it make sense. And I realized that negative mind is the mind of what I have been taught through observation in this physical world, right? So that is what makes up my negative mind. So it's like that mind and my higher self is trying to coexist in the same space. And it's so hard for them to coexist because I have been so influenced by this world through my trauma, my dysfunction, my addiction, that I have gotten so far away from my higher self, my higher power. And it's not that my higher power ever left me. It's actually the other way around. I left myself because I was influenced by this world. I allowed this world to distract me from myself, my true self, right? So I realized that no wonder I was at constant war with both sides of my brain when I came into recovery, because all I had ever fed was my negative mind. But the more I started feeding my positive mind, no matter what, taking action no matter what, every time I didn't listen to my negative mind and I overpowered it and I took action anyways, it started fading and fading and fading and fading, to the point where today that it can whisper, but I have such a strong foundation that I am aware when it is whispering, and I know that it is lying to me. Okay? So my point is that the goal with me in recovery is not to get rid of these negative thoughts. It's not to get completely rid of resentment or guilt or shame. It's to learn to forgive myself and give myself compassion. And it's about developing a secure attachment, connection with myself, and the power of life through meditation. See, I don't believe in people being 100% healed from their trauma. I just don't see that happening. And I'm speaking from personal experience. No amount of meditation ever stopped my nervous system dysregulation. No amount of meditation ever stopped my anxiety. Okay? No amount of meditation, inner work, step work ever has stopped my PTSD symptoms. But what these things have contributed to gives me the ability to not be afraid of these things. It gives me the courage and the power to have the self-awareness of when it's my anxiety speaking or when it's my negative mind speaking to me. And I have the power within myself to make a conscious choice to listen to my anxiety or to listen to my negative mind. So it's not about getting rid of these voices. It's learning how to coexist with both sides of my brain. And like I said, the more I feed my positive mind, and I continuously feed it, the more self-aware I become. The more meditation I do, the more self-aware I become. The more power and the more willing I am, not willing, the more capable I am of stopping that negative mind and being like, wait a second, I hear what you're saying, brain, but that's just not true. I've learned to talk back to my brain. Like, my brain will bring up a painful experience from the past, and I'll be like, you know what? You're right, brain, that did happen. Thank you for reminding me of that. Thank you for keeping me safe. But I am safe right now, and I appreciate you keeping me safe. And then the feeling goes away. Like, what? It's that simple for me. Now it's that simple. In the beginning, it was not. But I've learned my own solution to dealing with my brain. Just like I want to be seen, I want to be heard, I want to be understood. Well, so does my emotions, and so does my damn brain. So if I acknowledge them, just like I want people to acknowledge me, they just pass. They just want to be heard. That's it. They're just trying to tell me something. And if I'm willing to listen, then it's not such a struggle in my head anymore. It's not a war I have to fight. And that's what surrender looks like for me. True surrendering to that part of my brain, to my negative mind, to my disease mind. There's so many different words to call it. And so it's learning for me how to live with my anxiety and not let my anxiety stop me from doing what my heart wants to do. Learning coping mechanisms and tools to help me deal with my anxiety, to help me deal with the painful thoughts that come up. And the best coping mechanism I have developed to help me deal with painful thoughts is that, you know, because I've been through a lot of painful things this past 2 years, and these thoughts do come up. It's natural for painful thoughts to come up. There's nothing wrong with me because painful thoughts come up. Sometimes they may come up more than others, but when they do, I acknowledge them and I don't attach myself to the thoughts. It's kind of like I see the thought from a distance and I acknowledge it and I let it flow instead of grabbing it and holding on to it. And that's what meditation has taught me, okay? And my point of making this video is that the days I do feel down, the people closest to me in my support system, they already know what's up, but they know that I deal with it. They know that I am okay. Although I'm not okay, I am okay at the same time. And I give myself permission to cry on these days when I feel like crying. Actually, anytime I feel like crying, I give myself permission. Because I truly believe that emotions are energy. You can't see emotions, but we can feel emotions. And so I know logically, through experience, when I cry, I feel better. But I have to talk to myself gentle, and I have to support myself and encourage myself and motivate myself when I cry. So learning to accept my emotions as they arise and truly surrendering to my emotions and telling my emotions, I see you, I hear you, and help me understand what you're trying to tell me. Help me understand what you're trying to show me. Things go a lot better now that I'm not fighting against my emotions, because the emotions are going to come regardless if I want them to or not. And when I used to get loaded, I still had emotions. I was just consciously unaware of how intense they were. They were still there. They never not went away, you know? And so my problem was my emotions. It wasn't so much addiction. Addiction was just a coping mechanism to help me deal with my emotions. So when I learned new coping mechanisms, I was finally able to not want to pick up a drink. I'm not afraid of my emotions. I welcome my emotions. I changed my perspective towards my emotions. My emotions are my friend. My emotions are here to help me, to guide me, to protect me, to show me what I need to heal or what I need to stay away from, you know? So the thing that has gotten me to where I am today is changing my mindset and true surrendering to that part of my brain and accepting my emotions as they are, surrendering to my emotions, and doing a lot of self-reflection when I am feeling these unwanted emotions. It is a main coping mechanism I use today. I come outside, I grab my notebook, and I just start writing, and I ask myself questions after questions. I don't overanalyze. I don't overanalyze. I just self-reflect to a healthy point of understanding, okay, this is what's going on, and I'm going to wrap it up with this. But for me, I can know, okay, I'll give this as an example. I reacted to this situation because of this, ... I can know why I reacted a certain way to a situation, but does that change the way I reacted to the situation? No, it doesn't. But what has given me the ability to change my reaction to situations I normally would not have changed my reaction to is meditation. Because meditation's given me the ability to pause, but not just pause, because pause is such a powerful tool. And I never really understood why until I started doing it. Because when I pause, I'm able to separate my emotions from logic, from what's really going on, to how I'm going to respond, if I even should respond. And that's why pause is important. It gives me time to think. So that's like 7 different things I have to separate in my head in order to articulate, hopefully, a healthy response. And sometimes I don't have to respond. You know, there's not always a response needed. And so I hope by me having the courage to share my recovery and what's worked for me, that it can help others, because people helped me when I was at my lowest for free. And that's why I started this YouTube channel. If you go on my main page, there's a whole list of all different types of recovery meetings. Soon, I'm trying to get this page like organized and stuff. It's coming a long way and stuff, but I'm gonna have like free documents on there, like self-reflection documents, and like just all different types of resource documents that can help people get to where they want to be for free. And so change is a process, and I had to accept myself where I was, and I couldn't future trip. I just had to learn to accept myself where I was, and changing my mindset, changing the way I spoke to myself, and surrounding myself around people who could show me how to change, and attending meetings. Doesn't have to be 12-step meetings. It could be any recovery meetings. I do counseling. I have a 9-year-old that we do counseling together. I see her counselor separate. That's besides all the inner work I choose to do. And when I say inner work, I'm talking about like life skill building, like learning how to communicate in a healthy way, like learning how to regulate my emotions, like learning interpersonal skills, like learning life skills that weren't taught to me, learning parenting skills, like all these things weren't taught to me. So I needed more than just a 12-step program. I needed to rewire my entire programming, and I chose to break my childhood dysfunction, because I refuse to continue to pass the dysfunction down to my children. I continue to pass, I choose to not be dysfunctional myself. And I'm grateful for the gift of self-awareness, because there's many people in my life today that don't have self-awareness. And that's another video for another time, how painful it is when a person comes in recovery and they see reality for what it is, and they see that other people don't want to change with them. And I'll make a separate video. I think I might have already made a video. And so now I feel better, and I'm going to go to bed. I've been of service. If anybody has any questions, please reach out. I am willing to answer any questions. I am willing to guide anybody in the direction that they are willing to be guided. And I am grateful for all my subscribers and all my support and all the comments. And y'all have a great night.